Hello again, fellow podcaster, and welcome back to Pod Theory. I am your host, Jason Sircone, and today we're going to talk about how you can bounce back if your show has pod faded. Now, before we get started, let's take a minute to review. What exactly is pod fading? Pod fading is when your show stops with no notice. You're producing content one week, and the next week, you release nothing and never tell your audience what's up. It's basically like a TV show that you're really into just stopping abruptly with no notice. The show isn't getting the viewers the network expected, and even though you're thoroughly invested in what's happening, the show gets yanked from the rotation, and that's the end of it. No resolution, no cliffhanger. This happens a lot in podcasting, and it can happen for a variety of reasons, such as getting started with no real plan for consistently releasing episodes. Other priorities may take precedence. Certain life events could cause a delay, and you could just flat out run out of ideas. In most cases, not all, but most, pod fading can be avoided by building a plan and sticking to it as your show unfolds. If you'd like to learn more about how you can avoid pod fading, jump back to episode 58 of Pod Theory and discover the 4 tips I shared on this subject. But let's say that you couldn't avoid the dreaded pod fade and your show has been without new episodes for an extended period of time. If this has happened, don't beat yourself up. Things happen. But now you may be asking yourself, how do I bounce back? How do I get my show back on track? By this point, your listeners have undoubtedly found other podcasts to consume, so you'll most definitely be fighting to get your podcast back in their rotations. But this isn't an impossible feat. After all, there was something about your show that got them listening in the first place. If you're planning your comeback with similar content, that's already a step in the right direction for your efforts. Regardless of how long your show has been without new content, you should look at your comeback from pod fading as a new beginning. Meaning, you'll basically want to recreate your initial podcast launch to get your audience psyched for your Ali-like return to the ring. Start with a quick reintroduction episode. It doesn't have to be long, but this creates a great opportunity for you to explain what happened to your audience. If it's something extremely personal, you don't have to go into line-by-line detail. Just let your audience know the broad strokes, as well as what you have planned for your return. Next, come back with a vengeance. Don't just release one episode. Release a few. Again, think back to your initial launch. How did you carry that out? Did you do 5 episodes all at once? Did you do 3 episodes over the course of 3 days? Whatever it may have been, let your audience know you're back to stay by giving them a few extra doses of content right out of the gates. Before you release your reintroduction episode, take some time to batch some additional episodes. The last thing you want to do is make a comeback, start getting audience members back on board, plus bring in new audience members, then fade away again. Depending on the frequency in which you plan to release new episodes, be sure to have ample content in the bank to ensure you stay ahead of schedule. If you want to drop 3 new episodes upon your return, great! Make sure you have at least 5 to 7 additional episodes recorded if you plan to publish new episodes every other week. If you're going to publish new episodes once a week, up that number to 10. Just like in the early days of your show, this may seem like a lot of work on the front end, but you've experienced firsthand how fast time flies and how quickly content distribution flows. This doesn't mean you can't drop teasers of a comeback on social media or in your email newsletter or any of your other platforms while you prepare, but don't commit yourself to any dates until you're prepared to do so. Set yourself up for success. Have multiple episodes ready to go before you announce your comeback. The most important thing you can do with your audience is be honest with them. If they were loyal to your podcast before it faded away, they'll appreciate your honesty and welcome you back to the party with open arms. But once you're back in their loving embrace, it's up to you to stay consistent and not fade away again. And if something does happen where you need to take a break from your show, be sure to explain it so your audience knows what to expect. It's better they're prepared for your show to be off rather than tuning in on your regular release day and discovering that you left them hanging once again. And that, boys and girls, is what we call episode 76 of Pod Theory. Did you enjoy our few minutes together today? If so, please take 30 seconds to visit Apple Podcasts to leave a rating and review for the show. Just click on the Write a Review link and let the world know why you love the show. Good talk. I'll see you back here tomorrow. This has been Jason Sircone on Pod Theory.